Hello and welcome to week 7. We've made it to week 7 here, and this week we are going to talk about lights and shadows and the Gestalt. The Gestalt is kind of a fancy word for describing things, different parts as one piece or one complete whole. So perceiving lights and shadows is also specifically dealing with shading. Okay, so this is kind of a fun week and a fun lesson to learn about, where you can kind of lose yourself in shading techniques. Okay, one of my college professors had a saying, and that saying was that shadows are your friend. And what he was talking about was that when you're drawing something, if you're adding a shadow to it, it's just gonna make it look much more convincing and much more believable. Here we have an example of that. This is a drawing or a picture from an artist named Gustave Courbet, and this drawing, obviously, we can tell what it is. It's a picture of a person's head. This is actually a self-portrait of this artist, and there's something that we can take of note in this drawing, and that's that the shadows are describing the form for us. If we look at this drawing upside down, we'll notice that there's what's called a shadow pattern in this drawing, and that shadow pattern helps us to kind of describe the form, but when we turn it upside down, we see more of that pattern. But when we see it right side up, we see the three-dimensional form, and we can see what it is. For this reason, shadows can be very effective, and shadows are something that we can describe, and we describe it through the right side of our minds, through the right side of our brain. So the right side or creative side of your brain is best suited for depicting lights and shadows. And again, that shadow pattern can be readily visible when you turn an image such as this upside down. You can see the different patterns, or the shadow pattern. Okay, another important note is that when we see something and it has shadows, we don't obviously see everything. So just like that clip that we just looked at, that movie clip, obviously it's a night scene, so you can't see everything anyway. But what's nice is that the filmmakers who made that, they were, I think, pretty brilliant in showing us something, but not showing everything. And our mind completes what we can't see, and that's a really, really useful tool for us as artists. So that display of something, or that ability to refrain from showing everything and just showing what we need to see, and letting our minds complete what we can't see, is a useful tool. Okay. So here's an example, another example of shadow patterns, and you can really see the shadow patterns here in this drawing on the right. You see the shadow underneath certain areas, but it's showing us a pattern. It's a basic pattern. And we can utilize that pattern to help create convincing art. Here are a couple more examples of shadow patterns, and how shadow patterns will help us describe a form and help us create a three-dimensional object or three-dimensional subject. And we don't have to see everything. You notice that these two faces, you can't see the eyes, but our brains, our minds complete what the eyes are. Even though we can't see the pupils, we can't see the details here. It's a convincing and neat drawing. Just like that opening scene was a neat and convincing scene, yet we couldn't see everything. All right, so in reference to what we'll be doing this week, there's different lighting schemes that we can figure out, or we can utilize. And here are some examples of some different lighting schemes. the first object or the first lighting scheme. These are all of of a bust. So the first one we can see kind of a flat lighting scheme, and this is good for posters or decorative subjects or to show simplicity. Then another close to that example is if you look at the bottom middle choice here, you've got a light source that's just directly on a subject, and that's a flat light source. So that again is going to give you a really strong silhouette or a poster-like quality. Okay, the one that I really think is suited or well suited for what we'll be covering this week is in the third row on the left. It says number 4 here, or showing number 4. And that's the 3/4 top side view. And this is in terms of if you've got a light source on your subject, say a spotlight or a lamp. If you have it above the subject and going toward the subject at a 3/4 view, this will give you a really good option to get maximum light, halftone, and a shadow and reflected light. Okay, so this will give you that 3D form or three-dimensional form that you're looking for on a subject. Okay, just a few things I want to mention about lights and shadows specifically. We have an example here of a sphere, okay, and there's different things that make up the lights and shadows. The first is at the very top here, you'll see there's a highlight. So when you have a highlight, it can be the paper showing through, or maybe you've got a white chalk or charcoal pencil, you'll add in that highlight. Here, the second piece of this light and shadow creating form drawing is that there's a core shadow. So that core shadow is that black area, and pretty much everything around you is going to have at that core shadow. And when you create that core shadow, you'll add that three-dimensional form again. Okay, underneath that core shadow, you have reflected light, and that reflected light is what it sounds like. It's the light reflecting from the surface. Okay, and then underneath the object itself, you have a cast shadow, and cast shadows can help us describe forms again, and they're usually really dark. And you see the cast shadow here underneath the sphere. All right, so that is the information I wanted to talk about in preparation for the lesson for this week in working with lights and shadows and the Gestalt. And again, the Gestalt is just a fancy word for looking at all the parts and looking at them in reference to one piece or one whole complete subject. All right, thank you.